Today we are doing the ultimate full glam transformation. Hello my loves, my name is Jasmine and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a full glam transformation makeup look. I know it's been a minute, friend. I'm so sorry for that, but I just wanted to say hello. I missed you, and if you want to see how I did this full glam transformation, keep on watching. Okay, we're going to start this full glam makeup transformation with the eyes. Okay, so I just primed my eyelids. I used the MORPHE Solo Artist Cream Eyeshadow Base. I used the shade Mixtape because it's a little bit brighter than my skin tone, well, quite a bit lighter than my skin tone, so that our eyeshadow colors can pop. Okay, so I have completed one eye. I wanted to just do this eye, make sure I had the look I wanted before I show you how to do it. So let's do it together. I'm using my Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. This is an amazing neutrals palette. And I'm gonna start with mixing these two shades down here. I love mixing shades, and I always start at the outer corner of my eye. I feel like a lot of people start in their crease, but I like to start in the outer corner, and I pack a lot of shadow here because I like it to be really intense there, and then I'll bring it towards the crease. I was gonna say, I hope you can see what I'm doing. And I build it to be really intense as well. Don't worry if there's any harsh lines, we are going to blend this out. Next, I'm gonna get a fluffier eyeshadow brush. Oh, I should tell you what brushes I'm using. I started with the MORPHE M331 eye blender, and now I'm using the M333 eye blender. This one is less dense, and I'm gonna go into this lighter brown shade up here, and I'm gonna use that to blend out the edges of the first shadow that we applied so that it has a really soft finish and so that there's no harsh lines. I like to use windshield wiper motions, I like to use circular motions, whatever gets those harsh lines to go away. But you're not going to want to blend away the intensity of the crease too much, so really focus on the edges. I'm gonna go back with the first brush that we used, the M331, and I'm gonna dip into this darker brown shade here, and this one I am going to again pack onto my outer corner. I don't like to do this at first so that it's not too intense, and then I'm gonna blend it into the outer corner of the crease. We're not going to bring it all the way in, we're just going to keep it on the outer portion of the eye. I really like this area of my eye being very intense. And then you can get your M333 again, the less dense brush, and just blend out the edges again. It's done. Our next eyeshadow brush is going to be still fluffy but a little bit flatter. This is the MORPHE M332, and I'm gonna go into this kind of light beige shade, and I'm gonna pack it onto the brush, and then I'm going to stamp this onto my eyelid, and I'm focusing this on the, I would say the inner 2/3, because of course we already applied shadow to the outer corner, and try not to let this go above where your eye creases too much. You can kind of place it right on top of the crease, but you don't want to bring this shade up too much for this particular look. And then you can blend towards the darker shade on the outer corner and take that M333 and blend out the edges to eliminate any harsh lines. And last but not least, we are going to do a little bit of glitter on the eye. This is optional, but I think it's really fun. I'm using the DANESSA MYRICKS Beauty Colorfix sticks. This is in Duo 6, and you can actually remove them and kind of switch them around. I believe both of these are Duo 6. Oh, this is Duo 1, I was wrong. But I'm using the foils end in the shade Duo 6. It's this beautiful glittery eyeshadow stick. I don't know if you can see it too well, but it's stunning. And with the foils, you don't want to swipe them onto your eye, you want to tap. So I'm just tapping over where we applied the lightest eyeshadow shade because I don't want to completely cover that shade up. I just want to have a sheer shimmer over it. Of course, you can build this to be as intense as you want. I just want something more subtle today, but it still catches your eye when you're making eye contact with me, or if I look down or I'm looking around, you know, I just think it's such a nice touch. Okay, now let's get into this base. For a full glam transformation, you need to make sure your skin is prepped. It has to be. Moisturizer, toner, eye cream, everything. I already have all of that done. So now we are going to move into the second part of skin prep, which is primer. I have oily skin. So I am using primers that are good for my skin type. These are from DANESSA MYRICKS. You cannot go wrong with these. I'm gonna start with the water powder serum. If you're familiar with my content, these products are absolutely nothing new to you. I think because I travel with this one so much, it's gotten a little bit crusty on the applicator. So it's hard for the product to come out, and I just applied this to the areas that I get the most oily. For me, that's definitely my forehead and nose, but then also just the center of my face in general. I shifted you a tad bit so I can also look into the mirror here. Sorry if I move off to the side. Next, I'm gonna go in with the Blurring Balm Powder. This is the universal shade. Either one of these products can work very well on their own, but using them together, if you're an oily girl, your base will be indestructible. Genuinely, like indestructible. So I really like to use both of them together. Before, I was doing the Blurring Balm Powder first and then the water powder serum on top, and though that worked for me, I saw that DANESSA MYRICKS herself says she uses the water powder serum first, which makes sense because when I use my actual colored Blurring Balm Powder, the one that's like serves as my foundation, I always do the water powder serum first, and I do like it this way a lot better. We want the skin to give flawless, so we are going to do absolutely everything it takes to give flawless, and that means I'm going to color correct. This is the MORPHE Wakeup Artist Color Corrector, and I am using the shade Cinnamon. And I'm gonna apply this anywhere I have hyperpigmentation. A little bit goes a long way. You do not want your whole face to be orange. So I like to just dot this onto my face. And then using a concealer brush, I'm just going to blend it in. As you can see, a little bit is going a long way here. Now we're gonna go in with foundation. Today I'm using one of my favorites of all time, Maybelline Lumi Matte. If you know me, you know I love this. I love using this foundation for a full glam or for a special event because it just makes my skin look so flawless. And it has that perfect kind of skin-like finish that is not too matte, but also not too dewy either, because I'm definitely mostly a matte girl, but honestly, I've really been enjoying having more of a satin finish to my makeup because I feel like it just looks more skin-like and it gives me just more dimension. I think it makes me look a little bit more human, but don't worry. This is still gonna end up pretty matte because I use a lot of powders, but with this technique, my makeup is going to wear over time to have the most beautiful satin finish. Next, we're gonna get into our cream bronzer. I'm using my current favorite, the Too Faced bronzer stick. It smells like chocolate. I have to smell it every single time I use it. It is so pleasant. But I just apply to my cheekbones like this, and then also to my forehead. I also like to do on my jawline because I like to add some shadows there, and then we are going to blend this out. I'm really trying to avoid my edges, so that's why my hand is here. It's funny, this is where my side part is, so my edges just go crazy on this side because you can't even see them because of my part. And then on this side, they're all nice and sleek. You see how that just kind of casted more of a shadow here on my face? That's exactly what you want. That looks really nice in photos as well. And always make sure you're blending in a lifting motion. You don't want to drag your cheekbones down. I feel like that's something really common that I see people do. They place their bronzer and their blush and stuff way too low for their face. So make sure you blend upward. It's not changing the shape of your face, it's just making sure you keep the natural shadows of your face and you don't manipulate them too much. Next, we're going to get into some blush. Y'all know that I love red blush. I almost used my red today, but I've really recently been into this kind of like toasty brown color of blush. So first, we're gonna start with Toasted Teddy by RHODE. These cream blushes are so beautiful and creamy on the skin. I absolutely adore. And of course, we're just going to blend this into the skin. I like to kind of mix this with another one because of how subtle it is. But the idea of this kind of shade is for it to be a little bit more subtle than like a pink blush or an orange blush or something. It's not something that's meant to be super shocking. You can still get or not shocking, but bold. But you can still get a beautiful blush from it. That was so quick and easy to blend out. On top of it, I'm gonna add this color. This is the Juvia's Place liquid blush. This one is more of kind of a burnt orange color. This is in the shade Lily Love, and I'm just going to add this one right on top. This blush is extremely pigmented, so be careful with how much you apply. I'm more familiar with formula now, so I kind of know how much I can take, and then it's also just safer to just use a little bit and build more on top of it. Like, even for me, this is still maybe not enough. I think I'm gonna do one more layer. Okay, now let's get into concealer. I'm using my favorite right now, which is the Natasha Denona concealer. I'm gonna start with the darker shade, which is NR15, and I'm just, let me get my handheld mirror. I am going to place this under the eye, avoiding the innermost corner, and I'm pretty generous with it. And then I'm also going to apply to the other areas of my face that I want to highlight. So above my lip, on my chin, down the center of my nose, the bridge of my nose, and the center of my forehead. Next, I'm going to take shade NY12, and this I am going to apply to the innermost corner of my under eye. It's okay if it overlaps a little bit. And then I like to take my setting spray. This is the MORPHE Prep and Set Continuous Setting Mist. I'm going to cover up my eyeshadow and just spray my face, and then once the setting spray is dry, then we'll blend in the concealer. Okay, and now that the concealer has had time to dry, now we are going to blend it in. I always like to save my under eye for last so that it has the most amount of time to get the most out of the concealer and have the most coverage. And then of course, don't be afraid to go back and forth with your brushes to make sure everything is blended in super well with no harsh lines, of course. For my nose, I actually like to blend this in with my finger because of how precise this application is, and I don't want to spread it out too much. Perfect. And then we are going to blend in the darker shade of concealer first. I always blend along the edges first, and then I'll move closer towards the inner corner. Again, I'm taking my blush brush and blending along the edges to make sure the blush and the concealer are blended together perfectly. And then I'm gonna move to the other side and do the darker shade on this side too, and then we'll go back in and blend in the innermost corners of the concealer. Before I go in and blend the inner corner of my concealer, I did get some of my pressed powder on my powder puff. This is the Maybelline Fit Me powder in the shade 310. I've hit pan on yet another one. I just love this powder so much. I'm taking a second concealer brush and I'm using that to blend in the lighter shade. Oh, I do have one more shade of concealer that I want to apply. Since this is an absolute full glam transformation, I'm gonna do a really bright under eye. So though this is bright, we're gonna go even brighter. So I'm going to blend it all in, but I'm not going to set it into place yet. I really need to clean these brushes. I feel like I really like these brushes. I always bring them when I travel because I can trust them, but I will say the bristles hold on to makeup so much, so I will find myself kind of wiping excess makeup onto a tissue so that it's not applying too much excess makeup. I don't know if you guys know what I mean by that, but that's just my experience with these new Morphe brushes that they came out with a few months ago. And now that this is all blended, I'm just going back and forth with my brushes to make sure there's no harsh lines anywhere. And then I'm gonna go in with an even lighter shade of concealer. This is my Fenty Beauty Wear Even concealer. This is in the shade 335W. This is extremely brightening. I just add one little dot to the innermost corner of my eye. And now I have my powder puff ready. And I don't have a third concealer brush, but if I did, I would use a third one. So we're just gonna use the second one. I wiped off any excess product and I'm using this to blend it in. And I'm keeping this super concentrated to the inner corner of my under eye. Again, don't be afraid to go in with your other concealer brush, blend out any creases that may have formed, of course. And then I like to set my under eyes one at a time. So once I know everything is blended on this side, I'm just gonna take that powder puff that already has powder on it and I'm going to set my under eye. I did not have enough powder on that, so I'm getting some more. This way, your concealer won't even have the chance, the opportunity to crease. Okay, now both under eyes are set. I'm still gonna use my Maybelline powder in the shade 310, and I'm just going to use this to set anywhere that we added concealer. Don't worry if it forms some harsh lines or it looks a little crazy. It always does before the end. You just have to trust the process. But I still want my face to have as much dimension as possible, so I'm gonna keep those areas bright. Now I'm gonna take my powder foundation. This is the One Size Turn Up the Base powder foundation. I wear the shade Deep 2G. I'm just taking this on a large powder brush and I'm gonna use it to set the rest of my face. Lots and lots of powder is needed for a full glam transformation, and I can already hear the dry skin girlies from here. You still need powder, okay? You still need powder. Just use less than me, an oily girl. Use less than an oily person would use, but you still need to set your makeup into place. Now it is time for loose powder. This is the Huda Beauty powder in the shade Peach Pie. Love the travel size, hate this applicator, so I put this to the side. I empty it out into the palm of my hand since I don't have a lid to empty it out into with the mini size. And I'm taking another powder puff. This is not the same one we used for our loose powder. And I'm gonna use this to bake my under eyes, of course. Make sure the powder is completely smooth before you go in and apply. And like I said, I'm oily, so I use lots of powder. But if you are dry, you do not have to use this much. You don't even have to bake if you don't want to. If your skin can't handle it, all you have to do is use a small amount of powder and just press it into the skin. I will be doing nothing of the sort because, like I said, I'm oily. I'm using a lighter layer in the other areas of my face that I do not want to bake, but I still just want to double set with pressed and loose powder. So for me, that's my upper lip and chin. I'm also going to bake the bridge of my nose, and I'm also going to add some loose powder to my forehead. I actually am going to do a mini bake on my forehead because my forehead gets so oily, going over my eyebrows as well because my eyebrows get shiny. And now I'm just going to apply my bronzer. Today I'm using the NARS Laguna bronzer in Laguna 08, and people ask me how long I bake for. Honestly, only a couple of minutes. The amount of time it takes me to do my steps before I need to wipe it away is how long, so probably only like 2 minutes. But I'm just going to bronze up my skin. I love this bronzer when I want to look really warm and toasty, and it goes really well with my brown blushes. Of course, I'm going to add to the jawline to reinforce the bronzer there. And then I'm also going to take my powder puff that I used for my loose powder, and I'm going to bake underneath the bronzer just to create some more definition. And then we're immediately going to wipe it away because we don't want this place to be too highlighted. And I'm using the brush that I used to apply my powder foundation to wipe that away. We're also going to use it for the forehead to wipe that bake away too. Now with my powder puff, I'm just going to press the powder into my skin first to ensure we're getting the maximum use of our loose powder. And then I'm going to use my powder brush to sweep the excess powder away. Okay, now it is time for powder blush. I'm going to use MAC's powder blush in the shade Raisin. I adore this blush. I know this is like a classic blush that the black girls were wearing in the 90s. I love it. It's very subtle. It's not super pigmented, so I definitely have to kind of build it up on the cheek. But once you get that pigment, it's just everything. It's everything. And I keep this on the highest points of my cheeks, and I kind of blend it into my bronzer a little bit too. It just has the prettiest kind of gradient because the colors are so similar. That's why I've been so obsessed with blush shades like this, because it just blends into everything else so nicely. For my next blush, I'm taking the House Labs blush in the shade Pomelo Peach. This is a really beautiful peachy shade. I don't know if you can kind of see that, but it's this really beautiful peachy shade that is going to blend the first blush into our under eye so nicely. So I kind of applied in that area that's towards the apple of my cheek, and I blended into that first shade of blush while also kind of blending towards my under eye. Have that perfect gradient effect. This is something I got complimented so much on when it comes to my makeup. It's kind of my signature that my blush is always perfectly blended into my under eye, and this is kind of how you do it. You literally have to bring it into your under eye. Okay friend, I applied my lashes and I went a little bit ahead without bringing you along. I'm sorry for that. I applied my lashes. These are my lashes from Sofia Arraiz' collection with Lovely Lashes. I always wear these. I'm always wearing these, and I bring these to travel because they have every lash I would want. I'm wearing the style Doll today. Obsessed. And then I also applied some eyeshadow to my inner corner. I applied this kind of bone shade from the Makeup by Mario palette into my inner corners. And then for the tip of my nose, I used the new Fenty Beauty Diamond Balm in Trophy Wife. Such a beautiful gold shade. And that's all I did without you, don't worry. Oh, and I also applied mascara on my bottom lashes. I used the Makeup by Mario Master Mascara. Now let's get into the lips. For my first liner, I'm gonna apply the Marviano lip liner. This is in the shade Brick Mocha. And then before applying anything else, I'm gonna allow this to dry. So now I'm just gonna set my face. I'm gonna use my One Size setting spray. Oh, first, actually, I'm gonna use my Morphe, the same one we used before. And then over that, I'm gonna use my One Size on Till Dawn. Okay, I've let the Marviano liner set into place. I'm also gonna use the Makeup Forever lip liner in the shade Dimensional Dark Brown just to kind of contour the lip. I usually would use the Espresso Martini shade, but I didn't bring it with me for some reason from Marviano, but oh well. And now for my lipstick, I don't know if I want to do this MAC Honey Love or Whirl. They're both pretty similar, but Whirl is a tad bit darker. If you can see, like, which one do I want to use? I think I'm going to use Whirl today. Yeah, I think Whirl is the one. And I'm just gonna apply this to the center of the lip. Yeah, because this kind of matches with my blush, which I love. That's so pretty. Beautiful. Now I'm gonna line over the liner with my NYX Butter Gloss in the shade Lava Cake. And then in the center of the lips, I'm gonna use the NARS Afterglow Lip Shine in Turkish Delight. It's a gorgeous pale pink shade. It's one of my favorite glosses. So pretty, so pretty. Okay, my loves, here is the final makeup look. I love how it came out, and I love how it came together with my outfit as well. This is my completed full glam transformation. Let me know what you think of the look in the comments if you learned anything new. Please make sure to give this video a like and leave a comment down below. Make sure you also subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notification bell so you don't miss another video from me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!